I hope everybody has finished their holiday shopping. I just finished last night. Thank goodness for Amazon. Or whatever you're doing this holiday season. I hope you have it all prepared and ready because it's going to be a hectic time, right? And I think that's a lot of what we've been dealing with lately is hectic times. We know in this world right now there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of fragility. Like there's a lot of things here that maybe we take for granted sometimes, right? But I think this time of year gives us a moment to pause, whether we're sitting in traffic or we had snowfall, which I know for me, I was driving very slow. But it gives us time to pause. It asks us to slow down and to reflect. And so one of the things I was going to talk about was how fragile life was. But as I was sitting here today, I was thinking about the miracle of this time of year. And I felt like that was maybe a better thing to talk about. So, when I was a kid, my dad took me to see Santa. I was about 5 years old. And I don't know what came into my mind when he was holding me before we got there. But I was like, hey, Dad, is Santa real? Right? And, my dad, not missing a beat, maybe because he'd already done this with my older brother, said, oh, honey, listen, that's not like the real Santa. Here's what happened. Like the real Santa, he died like a long time ago, like 50 years ago. I'm like, that's a long time ago now. Now that I'm over 50, I'm like, that's not that long ago. And what happened was all the parents in the world agreed to keep that going, to keep Santa going for you kids. So that's why we come and see Santa, because he's part of the tradition of what we do together as a family. And like at 5, somehow I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So I'm sure he went, oh, after it was done. But there is this miracle of this idea that every generation we carry forward this magic, whatever you think the magic is, right? We carry forward the traditions, the love, stories of our yesteryears. We use plates from my grandmother still that we bring out just for this time of year, right? These are the times that we bring back that magic and that lore. And I think sometimes we take that for granted in life, not at just this time of year, right? The fact, I was sitting here thinking about it, and I was like, the fact that I opened my eyes this morning, I got up out of bed, a little crankily with my knees and stuff, but I got up. I made tea. I had something more to wear, and I had a car to bring me here. Like, that's a miracle that people would want this day and age. And I'm not saying we have to think about the people who are not doing as well as we are. I mean it more from the fact of we have these things in our lives that just maybe at one time in our lives we wouldn't have had, we wouldn't have thought we could even have. And now we have these miracles. My mother, I call her the saint. I'm sure I've talked to her about her before here. And she is a very, very, very prayerful woman, very Catholic, but her prayers, like they're known to be miracle workers. Like friends will call. I've had ex-husbands call. Hey, can you put my mother on the prayer line? And there's that petty Betty part of me that's like, I don't want to do that. But then I go to my mother and I'll say, okay, can you pray for so-and-so because they're going through so-and-so? And she's like, oh, absolutely. And she'll get on the phone, she'll put them on the prayer line, and she'll start praying. And it's her belief is so strong in those prayers and sending up those wishes to God. I truly believe that's what makes things move. It's because she has such a strong faith. She's also the same person that was putting so many people on the prayer line one day that a particular church cut her off and said, we can't give you anymore. And she was like, well, that's fine. I'll call the Sisters of St. Joseph then. And hung up and called the Sisters of St. Joseph for the rest of the list. That's what she has to do. That is her idea of bringing that peace to that person or that healing or whatever it is, because she has that belief in those miracles. You can say this to somebody else and they would say, prayers, please. But my mother's faith is so strong in that's what creates the miracles. And so I say to you, what is in your life right now that you have within you that creates the miracles for yourself and other people? Because if you're feeling low, and I don't know about all of you, but I've had this moment where I'm like, okay, but if you're feeling low, what about what's within you? What about those miracles that are already within you? What have you overcome so far in life? Because I don't know, listen, unless your life is like Facebook or Instagram or any of those social media things, that's not real life, right? We put up the best pictures with the best filters, for whatever reason, if we even do that. But that's what most people do. I want you to see into my life this much, and I want you to just see all the good stuff. But what about all the stuff we've been through? If we actually shared that and opened our hearts, that would be miracles to other people. We wouldn't know that we were alone sometimes. Sometimes what you're going through, you feel like you are isolated in the corner. You don't know how you're going to get yourself out. But if someone else says, I got you. I went through it too. Yeah, it sucked, but come on, I got you. That's the miracles of this world. You don't have to give tons of money to people. You don't have to even, sometimes time is real short for us, right? You have all kinds of things. But sometimes a kind word to somebody, or like, hey, I got you, let's get together for coffee next week. Sometimes that's all someone needs. I remember I got stuck once. I had this old car. It was an old Dodge Intrepid. It was about 12 years old at the time. And it was acting up. So I got stuck on the side of the road. It's cold, not quite as cold as today, thank goodness, but pretty cold. It was wintertime in Boston. And I'm like, I'm trying to call people. I'm like, I need someone to help me. I don't know what's going on. And of course, I'm like, I'm on the side of the road. It's cold. And this guy drives up. He pulls up in front of me and he says, what's going on? I said, I don't know. He goes, I'm like, pop it. Let me see what's going on. He goes, you just need some extra oil. You're probably leaking oil here. And he goes in his car and takes out 4 quarts of oil, pours in a couple, hands me 2, and he's like, hey, I get these for free. Don't even worry about it. Start it up. Let's see how it goes. And my car started, and he's like, at least you'll be able to get home. And I was like, oh my God. I couldn't reach anybody. And here's a stranger who just pulls up, and he's like, I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. Here, I got you. You can't tell me that's not a miracle. That's not a divine hand in our lives. We just don't like to admit the divine hands in our lives when the times get tough. Because why? Why would the divine hand do that to us? Excuse me, I have to take a sip. Iced tea is a miracle. As far as I'm concerned. But, what is it within us? What is it that we don't even have to ask sometimes. We just have to say to Spirit, God, whoever it is, like, I cannot do this right now. I don't know how to do this right now. I have no idea what's next. And God's like, I got you. Well, get me quick, will you? Right? But it's true. Sometimes you get that call from that person's like, I was just thinking about you. Are you okay? And that you have that moment where you're like, no, I'm sure not. But that's the divine hand knew. You needed that person. They can be strangers. They can be enemies, which I hate to admit too. But God sometimes humbles me some days, right? Because at a core, we're all human beings. We may have different views. We may have different ideas. We may have grown up differently. We may have different resources, but we're all human beings. And if we're doing the miracle thing right, which is what I believe is part of our journey here, is to do the miracle thing right, then we're giving out miracles all the time. We might not know. But just you yourself are a walking miracle, right? Like I said, think about the things you've been through already. You're still here. You're sitting in this room. There's about 25 of us or so today that have had experiences that are similar or maybe different. But we all have feelings that connect us with each other, right? And there's also a part of us that carries the divine of our ancestors, of the people we love. I don't know about you, but my dad passed away 10 years ago, and I still think about ways like, did that make Dad happy? Is he proud of me? Is he okay with things I'm doing? I want to make him proud and carry on his legacy. That's important to me. And all of my ancestors. Because as wonderful as they are, they're a little bit cray-cray, but I love them. And if I can carry some of the craziness down the line, I'll do that. But that's what makes our family miracles. We can talk about experiences. We know each other. We love each other. It's the same thing here. This is also a family. This is also a community. And we're all connected and we all care. Well, how many people have this community? How many people understand each other in this way? How many people have the same vision of the spirit world to come together and to celebrate them in the way that they deserve? We herald them. We praise them. Right? That's who we are. And that's why it's so important you are who you are. So there's nothing inherently wrong with us. We're told that there is, right? We have people, we're kids. Kids can be mean. And as we grow up, we go into jobs, and sometimes the bosses aren't so nice. And maybe we get in a relationship but we still take all those experiences and still walk into this world of miracles and bring the miracles anyway. Because we're good people. There was something I read once that said, good people can't pretend to be evil, but evil people can pretend to be good. Right? So if we're a good person, we can't think, I can't be mean to that person. Yeah, they might have done something. I can't. It's not who I am. It's not who you are. So if you have a moment when you're mean to someone, cut yourself some slack. We're still human. But you have a goodness in you that's a miracle. We have those miracles every day. And if you've ever read some of the Course in Miracles work that's out there, they say all miracles are the same because they all mean something to somebody. That guy who came and put the oil in my car, that was a miracle to me. Maybe not to somebody else, right? It's every day we get the chance to do that. It's not just the holiday season, though. There's a little extra shine on those miracles, right? Because we want it to be magical for everybody. But we walk in that every day. You have that spirit, you have that fire, you have that contribution to the world that you have to give. So when you have those moments where you wake up and it's 9 degrees outside, hi. Or at least it was when I started my car, it said 9 degrees. Glad it wasn't negative, but that's what you are. You are a miracle going into the world. Look at how important you are. Really, look at how important you are. Because there's people relying on you, there's people who love you, there's people who need you, and you're important to them. Hello. So, just think about as you go throughout your day, as if you say hello to someone, you smile at them, you help them, you let someone cut you in line. You're just a good person standing there and you're smiling. That's all you need to be. That's all you need to be. Gifts are nice, but eventually the gifts go away. But you're the gift that never goes away, whether you're here on the planet or not. Confirmation right there. You're right. So think about that as you go out into the world today, when you go out and you see people, when you run into people people you don't know, how you can bring the miracle to them, because you never know that day what they need, and just by being you can bring it to them. Thank you.